तत्सवितुर्वरं रूपं ज्योतिः परस्य धीमहि यन्नः सत्येन दीपयेत्। ॐ आनन्दमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे ॐ नमो भगवते श्री अरविन्दाय। Today we are taking up the second part of a series on Jnana Yoga. Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga encapsulate Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. ఈ మూడింటిని సమగ్రంగా మనము సాధన చేయడానికి ప్రయత్నిస్తాము. Sri Aurobindo says the integral yoga uses the method of Vedanta to arrive at the aim of Tantra. The method of Vedanta is a set of principles designed to help the individual shed his association with the outer being and move closer to the self. This is the method of Vedanta. There are many techniques, last time we saw some. And the aim of Tantra is to seek divinity in the fulfillment of life, not rejection of life. Vedanta ఏమంటుందంటే you leave the world. Tantra doesn't say that. Bhakti, rightful enjoyment of the world, is a part of divine living. So this is what Sri Aurobindo says. Method of Vedanta, inner detachment, inner renunciation, surrender, all of that. At the same time, living life to its fulfillment, accepting life in its blossoming, not rejecting life. We saw last time that Advaita Vedanta is the philosophical system that provides the principles and intellectual framework for the spiritual practices of Jnana Yoga. And Jnana Yoga in the Indian tradition is the path of knowledge, the pursuit of ultimate truth through inquiry, discrimination, reflection, contemplation and realization. We saw these definitions. Advaita Vedanta provides the blueprint, Jnana Yoga techniques provide the implementation manual. This is what we saw last time. We covered the following topics: Atman, Brahman, Sachidananda, Avidya, Maya, Mithya, superimposition, the principle of superimposition and the difficulty of superimposition, how we took up the famous example of rope and snake. When we step on the rope, we jump in fright, thinking it is a snake. This is a very famous and old example of Advaita Vedanta. Why do they give this example? So let us examine the time at the moment when we step on the snake or rope and we jump. What are we doing? We jump because we think that rope is a snake. We take the attributes of the snake and apply it to a rope. It is soft, it is long, it will bite. These are all the attributes of a snake. But we apply it to a rope. We step on it and we are afraid and frightened. This is how we misunderstand life, is what Advaita Vedanta says. Why do they say that? I am suffering, I am struggling, I am in ignorance, I am all these things, I am unwell, all of these things. What happens? The unwell part The suffering part, all the difficulties part applies to the body, the mind and emotions. The true I is the soul. So we are taking what applies to the body, mind and emotions, superimposing it on the soul and saying that I am suffering, I am ignorance, I am bad, I am this, I am that. Just as we take the properties of a snake and apply it to a rope and start jumping unnecessarily when there is no need. So this is called adhyaropa apavada, superimposition. We take the properties of the body, the properties of the mind, the properties of the emotions, the difficulties of the world, the difficulties of body, the difficulties of emotion, and we identify with it thinking this is the reality. But the reality is that we are a soul, we are Atman, we are Jnana, we are luminous, we are eternal, we are infinite. But that soul is deep inside. So we only apply on the outside all the difficulties and suffer. Another example is also given. Now if you see this water, it is transparent. Now if you put a seal plate, it will start looking silvery water. If I put a red flower, it will look like a red water. You think the water is red, but actually it is not. This is the soul, this is the body, mind and emotions. All of this, when you look from the other side, you will think that the glass of water is red or yellow depending on what I keep at the back. We misunderstand. This is adhyaropa apavada. This is where superimposition, misidentification of the problems of body, mind, emotions, life, society, all of that to the I, which is actually the soul in its purest form. So we covered that. Then we said neti neti, all this is not me, this is not me, this is not me. We said Sri Aurobindo talks about it in Yoga of Knowledge. First we identify ourselves as the body. There is a chapter called rejection from the body. I forget the exact name of the release from subjection to the body. How do you separate yourself from the identification with the body? That is what the chapter is called. Similarly, emotions. Similarly, ego. All this he writes. Release from subjection to heart and mind. Release from subjection to ego. The idea is we are entangling with something that is not us. Our true self is different. Our outer self is different. We are spending our life identifying ourselves with the outer self. So the job of Jnana Yoga is to help us separate from the outer self and move to the inmost self. How do we do it? Neti neti, not this, not this. Then we also talked about how each of us has sanskaras from the past, the attributes where we have a lot of pre-configured behavioral patterns, desires, all of that, and those sanskaras, vasanas and actions, these are the three aspects that we bring to us. And man's nature is of emotions, sanskaras and swabhavas. Sanskaras and vasanas are the material of the individual nature which the psychic being works upon to turn it to the divine. So it is all coming together. Advaita Vedanta did not have the concept of psychic being, but Sri Aurobindo is applying some of the principles of Advaita Vedanta, some of the elements of Advaita Vedanta, and incorporating it in the larger framework of integral yoga. So we have covered this till now, and now we proceed with the next set of different topics. Again, we have a large number of topics. Last time also, when we covered, we tried our best to cover as many topics as much detail as possible. We will not rush. We will take our time, do it properly, whatever we do. Another important point in this understanding of Advaita Vedanta is they take up the state of consciousness of the human being when he is awake, when he is dreaming, when he is in deep sleep without dreams, and some of the saints say there is even a higher state than that. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, Turiya. even though in Synthesis of Yoga, Life Divine, Basis of Yoga, Letters on Yoga, you don't find Sri Aurobindo talking to his disciples with these terminologies. But when you see Sri Aurobindo's own notes in Record of Yoga, he uses these terms. For example, in Record of Yoga, he says, the mind in Sushupta perceives below it the activity of Swapna and perceives also what is happening in Jagrata Sthiti. Now look at this, it's a very, on one side it is an example of how he is using the traditional terms, but if you look at the meaning of the sentence, it is very profound. He is saying his consciousness is at a state in Sushupta where it is able to see the mind dreaming. In other words, he is asleep, he is dreaming, and he is at a state of consciousness where he knows he is dreaming. And not only that, it perceives also what is happening in Jagrata, which means when he is interacting with us, he is able to observe himself with complete Sakshi Bhava. That state of consciousness detached from mind, body and emotions. Turiya. So, the three states of waking, dreaming and deep sleep are not merely psychological conditions. They are states of being, of consciousness and of the soul. The waking state is a partial manifestation of consciousness. The dream state is a deeper level of experience. A subtle body that can project itself, the Sukshma Sharira that can project itself into the astral worlds. And deep sleep is a return to the Karana Sarira where the soul rests in a state of unmanifested consciousness. These states are not mutually exclusive but interwoven. So, these are all states of consciousness which have different levels of reality to us. The waking we identify with the gross body. That much is clear. This is our body. In dream, we identify with the subtle body. In deep sleep, the causal body dominates. The mind and senses withdraw. Individuality is dormant. There is peace and rest, but ignorance remains. Hence, we wake up saying, I slept happily, I know nothing. You know you have slept, but you get up and say, I don't know when I slept, I don't know where I was, I didn't have any dreams. This is the deep sleep state. So these are the three states. Now to understand Vedanta, we have to deep dive into one of these states, that is the dream state. Let us say, for example, I dream, I am sleeping in my house, I come to the ashram in my dream. I come in at 5 o'clock in the evening, I see a few people, I do namaskar, I talk to them, and we do our meditation, we go home, and I get up. Now, this is a simple dream, very relatable to all of us. Here begins the quest of Advaita. When I see the building in my dream, what is the material of which the dream is constructed, or the building is constructed in my dream? Is it concrete? Is it glass? No. What is the material which makes up the building in the dream? It is my consciousness. Because there is no real building, there is no real glass, there is no real brick and mortar. Yes? Similarly, when I see a friend here at the ashram, what is the material of which that friend is made? My consciousness. No other creator exists in my dream. Everything is created in my consciousness. The auto in which I come, my movement from Kukatpalli to Mushirabad, the time that is expanding and contracting in my dream, I spent 1 hour listening to the talk. That 1 hour, in my dream it is only 2 seconds. But the dream time is different, my actual sleeping time physically is different. So what is the time made of? My consciousness. The space is made of my consciousness. The time is made of my consciousness. The objects are made of my consciousness. The people are made of my consciousness. The communication is made of my consciousness. The fear that I may get in a nightmare is made up of my consciousness. The happiness I get out of my dream, that also is my consciousness. The entire experience of that whole universe is nothing but my consciousness. Nothing else exists in my dream. That whole world is my consciousness. I may see a sunrise, sun is also my consciousness. Is it not? That entire world is a creation of my consciousness. When I get up, what has happened to that world? It is dissolved. Everything in that dream was dependent on my consciousness. If my consciousness wasn't there, that whole universe wasn't there. This is how Advaita Vedanta talks about Brahman. Brahman, the ultimate reality, is what makes up this mic, it's what makes up my tab, it's what makes up the audience, it's what makes up the speaker, it is what makes up the building. Brahman is everything. There is a reality that goes beyond the senses. There is a reality that pervades beyond time. There is a reality that pervades beyond space. There is a reality that transcends this existence. At the same time, that same reality is inside this existence. Without that reality, nothing can exist. Without my consciousness, nothing can exist in my dream. So this is how Advaita Vedanta brings together the dream state, the consciousness experience in the dream state, and the Brahman. There is a beautiful work written by Shankaracharya. Most of you know Nirvana Shatkam. Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham na cha srotra jihve na cha bhranani. All that, I am not my senses, I am not the food, I am not the teacher, I am not the student, I am not the child, I am not the parent, I am not. He goes on giving everything that he is not. The Saptadhatu, all of that I am not. That is one Nirvana Shatkam. There is also another one that he has written called Brahma Jnana Vali Mala. I would ask you to please listen to it if you can. Brahma Jnana Vali Mala. Brahma Jnana. The truth of Brahma Jnana. He says everything is me. I am this universe. I am not dependent on anything. The universe is dependent on me. I am Niradhara. And the world is dependent on me. Now go back to the consciousness in the dream. The world of the dream is dependent on my consciousness. That is how Brahman is. And that is the truth of Brahman. And he says, I am always perpetual Ananda. I am in a state of Ananda, bliss, bliss, bliss. Bhumananda Rupam, Brahmananda Rupam, Sarvananda Rupam. He keeps on saying, I am all of this. And I am essentially of the character of Ananda. So this is what Advaita Vedanta talks about. If we can understand this concept of dream and the consciousness on which the dream is based, then we can get a glimpse of how Advaita Vedanta perceives this world. It is all Brahman, it is all Brahman, it's all Brahman. Other examples are given. For example, if I go to my wife and I tell her I bought you a new pair of earrings, she'll be very happy. If I tell her I got you a ring, she'll be very happy. A bangle, very happy. If I take all these to a jeweler, what will he do? He will put all of them on a weighing machine and say, sir, you have got me some 32 grams of gold. Do you want me to take it or do you want to? My wife is seeing earrings, bangles, chains, everything. The jeweler is seeing only gold. Earrings, gold. Bangle, gold. Mala, gold. Everything. For him, that is the only thing that he is able to see. This is another example given in Advaita Vedanta. You can call it whatever you want, it is all Brahman. Similarly, they also talk about different pots, all made of clay. You can do whatever you say. This pot is tall, this pot is short, this pot is wide, this pot is this pot is that. Doesn't matter. We are all Brahman. You can give all the attributes to these pots sitting in the room. Advaita Vedanta would say, I am only seeing Brahman. Male, female, age, position, nothing matters. Suffering, ill health, happiness, nothing matters. Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. Similarly, they also give the example of waves and ocean. The ocean may look at the waves, and the waves may think, I am different from another wave is different from another. The bubbles may say, I am different from another bubble. But the truth is, at the end of the matter, whether you are a wave, whether you are a bubble, whether you are a foam, whether you are the deep ocean, all of you are nothing but water. That is the truth of the matter. This also is another way of understanding Brahman. The idea is that there is one single universal reality pervading all our existence. That existence is perceived as Brahman. Sri Aurobindo and mother used to have a lot of cats. Pillulu. Sri Aurobindo wrote a poem in which he calls a cat fur-footed Brahman. Fur-footed Brahman. So it's a matter of perspectives. There used to be a saint called Nisargadatta Maharaj in Bombay. A very famous book is there, I Am That, Soham. Very brilliant Vedantin. Brilliant in the sense, he used to run a pan shop, selling cigarettes and pan. He caught hold of a guru, and whatever the guru said, he kept on doing. After some time, he attained Brahmajnana. So here is a pan person who is running a pan shop, supporting his family, and completely Brahmajnana. Later on in his age, people started asking him to come and give talks and talk to him and all that. So one day he was sitting and said, one devotee came. He used to speak in Marathi mostly. Some of his videos are available online. He started praising him, you are a Brahmajnani. Swami Nisargadatta Maharaj was very angry. He was irritated. I am not a Brahmajnani, I am Brahman. See the subtle difference. I am not Brahmajnani, I am Brahman. I am not somebody. When I know of something, that is different from me. You see, when I have knowledge of something, then the known, the knower and the knowledge, these are three different parts. He says, no, they are one. I am not only a knower of Brahman, I am Brahman. How profound, how beautiful, So this is how we got to try and move from our ignorant self to Brahman. But we should also learn these things. It will help us get perspectives in our meditations and all that. Then there is another beautiful concept in Vedanta which helps us understand the various ways in which one has to perceive the world and the spiritual realities. They give categories of realities. Paramardhika Satya, Vyavaharika Satya, Pratibhasika Satya. Paramardhika is basically the highest truth, the absolute truth. It means that which remains true in all states at all times. Present everywhere without beginning and an end. That is Paramardhika. This only refers to Brahman. There is no creation, there is no dissolution, there is no individual soul, there is no Ishvara, there is no liberation, only Brahman. Paramardhika Satya. Vyavaharika, practical reality, day-to-day affairs. See, if somebody comes and says, you have a beautiful car, I am Brahman, you are Brahman, this car is Brahman, give me this Brahman, I'll take it home. What should we do? No, you Brahman, you stay your Brahman, I'll stay my Brahman, my car stays mine. I can't say you are Brahman, take my car. Doesn't work like that. This is Vyavaharika, practicality, practical reality. You got to ensure that your feet are grounded. You can't live in a state of confusion in all of this. And many people in some stages of spiritual growth and progress, they fall into these traps. They don't know what is the right thing to do. How much to give, how much not to give. Where to help, where not to help. These are tricky answers. One has to grow and practice only then and seek advice of seniors and elderly people they can. Then what is more interesting is Pratibhasika Satya, that which merely appears. It is an illusory reality. This is that snake and rope example. So 3 categories of reality. So we are somewhere caught between assuming Pratibhasika, the illusory reality, as our reality. This is where we are caught. We are merging the Pratibhasika and the Vyavaharika. But somewhere we have to keep one foot in the other one, Paramardhika also. Learn to live in the divine consciousness. Learn to live with complete detachment. Everything is going on. There used to be a self-realized Grihastha, Gopinath Kaviraj in Kashi. Very famous saint. Very famous. Not saint in the traditional sense that he would a sanya. No, he was a Grihastha. His wife was there, he had children, everything. He was used to having kheer at 4 in the afternoon. He would maybe, like sweets, and he would have every evening 4 o'clock his wife would make some payash and give it to him. Unfortunately, he met with one of the worst curses of a parent, which is his son died before him, his own eyes. Was taken, cremation, everything over. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he tells his wife, bring me my kheer. You see how? Because what happens when somebody dies in the house? You don't first of all cook for some time, and definitely you don't have your sweets. For him, he was straddling this Vyavaharika and Paramardhika. On one side, he was very much in that consciousness. On the other side, he was doing what needed to be done. We have also to learn these things, Someone asked Sharda Mata also. You are in Brahmajnani. You have that supreme consciousness. Yes, beta. So, are you always in that consciousness? Because we all think that if you're a Brahmajnani, you're always. She said, no, how can I work here if I am there always? You cannot always be in that state of consciousness. You have to bring down these things, And Ramakrishna Paramahamsa has also said, I nurture some desire, harmless desire, so that I can be tied to this world. See, we have the reverse problem. We are trying to take both feet out of this lead and clay and try to walk further. They have the problem where they are floating so high, they have to find a way of rooting themselves to this ground. And hopefully this life, one day we will all get there, So this is the approach of Advaita Vedanta. Mostly what I have done in the last talk and this talk is tried to give you a good set of frameworks, some 10, 12 frameworks of various themes, Maya, Mithya, there is the theoretical framework. Now, we are stepping into, what did we say? Advaita Vedanta is the framework. It gives you the theory. Jnana Yoga is the practice, what to do. So now we are getting into what to do. There are many ways. I have taken a couple of them. Okay. There are several frameworks. I have taken up something called Sadhana Chatushtaya, which is also very famous. Okay. Sri Aurobindo. The first necessity of preparation is the purifying of all the members of our being, especially for the path of knowledge, the purification of understanding, the key that shall open the door of truth. And a purified understanding is hardly possible without the purification of the other members. An unpurified heart, an unpurified sense, an unpurified life confuse the understanding, buddhi, it confuses the buddhi, disturb its data, distort its conclusions, darken its seeing, misapply its knowledge. An unpurified physical system clogs or chokes up its action. There must be integral purity. So, whether it is Jnana Yoga, whether it is Bhakti Yoga, whether it is Karma Yoga, purification is extremely necessary. This is why we used to have Gurukula. In the Gurukula, the Guru would observe the disciple. What are his weaknesses? What are his strengths? Where is he falling down? If he has a weakness in this direction, if I give him this japa sadhana, what will happen later? He would see all that. And then the Guru would choose the sadhana, and before giving the sadhana, he would also set right the disciple. This was how the Gurus worked. Today what happened? Our Guru has become Amazon. We order whatever book we want, and then we start reading. Then we think we have understood it. Then we start explaining. We haven't practiced yet. Somewhere nobody has explained it to us. We haven't practiced it. We have we have read that book and listened to a few YouTube videos, and Aham Guru Asmi. Ho gaya kaam. This is where we have to be careful. We have to go through this purification, and in this purification, one of the methods is the sadhana chatushtaya. Swami Krishnananda of Divine Life Society, Shivananda Ashram, he says, sadhana chatushtaya is a fourfold way of self-control, cleansing oneself, purifying oneself, making oneself fit for the entry of that which is supremely divine. So, recently I was talking to a friend, a senior friend, who is probably in his nearing 70, does a lot of sadhana, and he shared with me, he said, Srinivas, I am at a stage where I am seeing the divine force come down and having difficulty entering my system because of the lack of adequate purification. Imagine our state. Neither can we feel the divine force coming down, nor do we know properly what is our purification required. Very, very careful self-reflection, very careful self-examination. Am I being greedy? Am I being selfish? Am I spending too much? Am I talking too much? Am I doing my japa regularly? Am I doing my meditation regularly? Am I reading Mother and Sri Aurobindo? Am I not? Vanakalapu chaduvulu kudaradu. You can't do sadhana when it is convenient to you. That is not spirituality. Spiritual progress means discipline and purification. No, I talked to him badly because he belongs to that category of people. No, whatever his category of people, you cannot behave like that. This is one of the drawbacks of difficulties that spiritually inclined people face. You cannot react to other people the way worldly people react to them. You have to withhold. Pratyahara. You can't enjoy the world the way other people enjoy. Uparati. It will come now. Somewhere that restraint is required. So, Swami Krishnananda says, these 4 ways or methods of practice are known as Viveka, Vairagya, Shad Sampatti mumukshutva. These are 4 ways, but Shad Sampatti is actually 6. So 6 plus 3, 9, mota 10 it will become. So, discrimination, viveka, in this there is chapter 3 of Yoga of Knowledge, Purified Understanding, Sri Aurobindo's written on it. The path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga, aims at the realization of the unique and supreme self. It proceeds by the method of intellectual reflection, vichara, to right discrimination, viveka. It observes and distinguishes the different elements of our apparent or phenomenal being, and rejecting identification with each of them arrives, that is neti, rejecting identification with each of them, arrives at their exclusion and separation in one common term as constituents of Prakriti, phenomenal nature, creations of Maya or phenomenal consciousness. So, vichara and viveka. Vichara is contemplation, thinking about things, and viveka, discriminating. First, we step back and observe what is going on, what is the circus. This is vichara. What am I spending my time on? How are my emotions reacting? What is all this? That is the vichara part. Then viveka. What should be accepted? What should be pushed out? What should be chosen? What should not be chosen? In spiritual matters, discrimination has a huge place. I have repeatedly told you, Sri Aurobindo says, that there is not only room for discrimination in yoga, but a need for it at every step. Otherwise, you will get lost in the jungle of things that are not spiritual. The first necessity is to distinguish the action of the higher power, the will of the divine, from all material desires, vital impulsions, and physical cravings. One must have a spiritual sense which discriminates automatically between the genuine divine and the imposturing vital. When we enter spiritual path, this is one of the difficulties. Our own nature, which is used to living a certain way for decades in our life, doesn't want to change. It doesn't want to change. And many times, many people are so, even on the spiritual path, after being here for 20 years, 30 years, I'm sorry, but sometimes I may sound a little crude and rough and insensitive, but the truth is we are all here to learn. I am not preaching what others should do. I am also learning along with all of you. Some of the most egoistic people can't see ego in themselves, they see ego in others. Their behavior is egoistic, and yet they say, see how egoistic that person is. The mother says, when you see something in the other person, a part of it is in you. And I'm still dealing with it. Some people have this capacity to constantly pick something that is wrong in the other person's behavior. What they have done, how they have behaved, ఆవాలు వెతకడం రంధ్రాన్వేషణ అంటారు తెలుగులో. Constantly searching for those mustard seeds and giving advice. Constantly finding something wrong. They say, no, I'm always believe in perfection, so I keep on looking for imperfections in other people. I don't look at imperfections in myself. These are all very tricky things, and unless we learn to change our nature, we will end up being at 80 what we were at 30. What a waste of life. And there are many people, I'm sure you also know, who have taken the life journey like that only. We have to be careful about discrimination. In our path, we have to ensure that we discriminate and change from our own negativities to our own positivities. Similarly, as one of the golden paths of integral yoga is the path of the psychic being. developing the psychic, bringing forward the psychic, trying to reach to the psychic. And there is a word called psychic discrimination which is used in our path. Which means your intellect may or may not tell you what is right, but your psychic will give you a feeling of what is right. You instinctively feel it. Your mind is not active, but you instinctively feel that psychic discrimination. It tells you. Even if you have to make a decision, you will say, okay, let me wait for some time. Something is not right. Recently, a friend of mine who runs one of the organizations related to Sri Aurobindo Society, she was suggested a particular person, very senior person, who was supposed to work with her on a project. And she was introduced by a very senior person within Sri Aurobindo Society. And this lady said she had a phone call and she said, something I could not sense, but something was wrong. So I just told my senior, I said, sir, give me a week or 10 days, I'll come back to you, let me think about it. And within 4 days, something came up where they found that this fellow was actually not what he claimed he was. Within 4 days. And she tells me, I didn't know why I asked her. It was something in her was prodding her. Something psychic, something deeper. You may not know the logic of it, but it guides you if you are surrendered to the psychic. So, discrimination is important. Similarly, discrimination, particularly when there are desires, the vital will come and continuously tell you, no, it's okay, this one time we'll do it. No, everybody is doing it, let us do it. These are all very dangerous and, pitfalls. So this discrimination is something. Then, after Viveka, it is Vairagya. Detachment from desires, egoistic and sensory desires. Every one of us, at some point or the other, see something we like and something inside us says, I wish I had it. I wish I could buy it. I wish they would give it to me. Where is it coming from? Smallest thing. That instinct of desire shows that there is not enough vairagya. Whether you get it, whether you don't get it, all that is separate. That process of rejection of what is unnecessary, redundant, meaningless, and interference, that is called vairagya. It is the understanding of the meaninglessness of certain things we are pursuing that will enable us to abandon them for our considerations in daily life. Can we develop a genuine sense of contentment and gratitude to everything that the Divine has given us? And can we say whatever comes from the Divine, whatever goes to the Divine, and I don't seek, I don't want, I don't crave? At some point can we develop it? Okay, in the 20s and 30s it is natural. Children are moving in life and they want certain things, nothing wrong with it. But after we turn 50, after we turn 60, can we at least now step back and say, I've seen all of life, I've seen all the circus, I don't need to keep engaging in it, let things happen. I have surrendered to Mother, I have surrendered to Sri Aurobindo, let them carry me. And it is not that we should not do our duty, but we do it with a sense of disinterestedness. It takes a bit of time, but also it has to be cultivated. It won't happen automatically. It won't happen one day. It has to be cultivated. It has to be developed. It has to be nurtured. Sri Aurobindo doesn't use the word vairagya that much. Instead, he says, I quite acknowledge the utility of a temporary state of vairagya as an antidote to the too strong pull of the vital. He says it's okay, you can have vairagya for some time because your vital is pulling you strongly. But Vairagya always tends to a turning away from life and a tamasic element in Vairagya. It starts criticizing everything beautiful. It starts criticizing anybody wealthy. It starts criticizing it. That is tamasic Vairagya. The idea, he says, is I prefer therefore to replace Vairagya by a firm and quiet rejection of what is to be rejected. Whatever is unsuitable in the spiritual life, you just reject it. Don't bother about it. Aspiration, rejection, surrender. We know all of that. Okay? Detachment is the beginning of mastery. But for complete mastery, there should be no reactions at all. When there is something within disturbed by the reactions, that means the inner being. When there is something within undisturbed by the reactions, that means the inner being is free and a master of itself. So it comes over time. It has to be practiced. Gradual detachment with our own attachment to our habits. A certain detachment with people who occupy emotional space inside of our heart and mind. At least a recognition and working towards it. A gentle moving away, moving inside from anything and everything which is enmeshing us, which is holding us. It could be a grandchild, it could be a business we started, it could be anything else that is tying us down, money, properties. There used to be many old stories, you go to that place, a big fort, there is a ghost. Why? Because that ghost was there when that fort was built and it's not able to go. Attachment. There is a gold inside the ground and there is a snake or something else guarding it, evil spirit guarding it. Why? Attachment. These are all very subtle things, and what we don't realize is they hold us much longer than we imagine. So we need to develop this viveka and vairagya. It takes time, but it is necessary. And కొంత పొడిగా ఉండడం నేర్చుకోవాలి. This is something coming out correctly. I can't put it into English, but there has to become a certain element of detachment. Recently, when I was doing a workshop on Jnana Yoga, one person said, we should almost become like a stone. I didn't quite like that description of becoming a stone, because our path is the yoga of psychic being, which is the tender, heartful, full of gratitude, full of devotion. But he was not wrong also. If our heart or our mind leaps at every emotion we are coming across, where is detachment? So we have to figure out these things. Next we move to Shad Sampatti. We'll probably stop somewhere in the middle of this today. Sri Aurobindo says in Synthesis of Yoga, the heart must be freed from subjection to the cravings of the life principle, prana, and the senses, the cravings of the life principle and the senses, and thus rid itself of the false emotions of fear, wrath, hatred, lust, etc., which constitute the chief impurity of the heart. The trishna, the craving, senses, pulling back the senses, all of this. And Sri Aurobindo elsewhere says, the tranquilization means calming down. The mastery, sama and dhamma, he says, of these members is the first condition for the immunity of the understanding from error, ignorance and perversion. So for the buddhi to stabilize, we are still at that first thing, which is how do you stabilize your buddhi? purified understanding. He says sama and dhamma in this case. Sama is calmness of mind and dhamma is self-restraint. See, what happens is, what many people who are not particularly keen on sadhana or spiritual life, what many people accept it as okay, a spiritual seeker cannot accept it as okay. When I sit in a group of 20 people and say, observe your thoughts, and you say, is your mind restless? Yes, sir, mind is restless. But every day it is restless. Every day it is thinking. So what should we do? No. It is true that the starting point is that every day it is restless. But after 20 years of being on the spiritual path also, if we say every day it is restless, what have we done for 20 years? Have we not found a way at least of calming the mind down whenever you want? Calming the mind down when you're sitting for prayer? Have you not mastered at least 2-3 basic techniques of being calm through the day when you're doing some work? You're cutting tomatoes in the kitchen. Can you not do it consciously, quietly? If your mind is roaming around with resentment of yesterday's argument, the tomatoes will bring resentment into the food. How do I do a perfect work when I'm doing a job and I'm trying to write a project report and my mind is wandering in 100 places? Somewhere along the way, those whom we call ourselves spiritual people, we should develop some basic things, which is, one, first of all, recognize that the mind is restless without anybody else having to point out, and two, develop the capacity to examine the mind every hour, normally it should become our second nature. Immediately when we are disturbed, we should be able to catch it that we are disturbed. We should not flow in that disturbance. Oh, why did he say like that? How could she say like that? That was not right. That means you have not learned how even to do basic control of the mind. What are we doing with Mother and Sri Aurobindo? How do we grow spiritually? So these are calmness of mind is sama, which is the first principle in the Shad Sampatti, is a reminder for spiritual people that okay, if I have thoughts, I have my exercises, I sit down and breathe deeply for 5 minutes, I close my eyes for 2 minutes, I maybe press on my eyelids for 5 minutes. Whatever it is, I drink some water, or I sit near mother's photograph, or I read something, or I play mother's music. Figure out what it is. Don't just be like everybody else. Or I do a bit of pranayam, anulom vilom. So many techniques are there. Are we practicing them? Are we understanding them? Are we recognizing that the calmness of mind is important? And is that calmness growing? That also is there. When Panditji used to be in Pondicherry, Shraddhalu was living with him, and Panditji used to be sitting doing his work. Shraddhalu would be moving around the house and sometimes next to Panditji. One day, Shraddhaluji, he himself felt, maybe I am disturbing Panditji with my thoughts. He was very careful with his body. But he said, maybe I am disturbing Panditji with my thoughts. And from that time, he became very careful to empty his mind when he went near Panditji. And then Panditji told Shraddhalu or Shraddhalu's mother, I think he told Sadhanaji, Shraddhalu has learnt to be more conscious of his mind. You see, how beautiful, what an example that is for people like us. We can't live like people outside like that. You have to figure out calmness of mind. Calmness of mind, how will it come? If I allow myself to be exposed to everything in the world and then I say calmness of mind, will it come? If I go and see Kantara in full volume, if I go and see Bahubali in full volume, now I come to Sri Aurobindo Society from the theatre to sit and meditate, will it meditate? So the circus also should be calmed down. The attachments also should be calmed down. The reactions also should be calmed down. One routine should be developed every day. For 20 minutes I do this, for 30 minutes I do that, morning I do this, before I go to sleep I do this. Culture has to be brought into life. Spiritual culture has to be brought into life. The surroundings have to be trimmed like a gardener. When you go to a nice garden, you will see a hedge beautifully trimmed. It won't be like a crazy tree. Our mind should be like that. When we do that, the day the mind gets disturbed, you automatically know my mind is disturbed. When you learn to observe your mind and culture it, if you go to a marriage and come back, you will immediately know the difference in the mind waves. Because that day your mind is more chanchala swabhava. It's more disturbed. When you mingle in a crowd and come, you see that in this calm mind, there is suddenly a lot of movement. And sometimes gradually when you culture your mind, you can see that you are feeling calm, but this area is feeling like this, like a butterfly fluttering inside your heart because there are too many thoughts. You can feel it. There is calmness in the being, but here, tup, 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 it's going on. This is how we need to develop sensitivity, first of all, to calming the mind and culturing the mind. We should know whom to interact to. We should know how many times we are touching our phone. We should know how many phone calls we are taking. We should know how much time we are speaking on the phone. Sometimes when you call, some people when their call comes, you know, not less than 30 minutes. And honestly, there are very few occasions where one needs to speak 30 minutes. Can we wrap it up in 10 minutes? 5 minutes? We are spiritual seekers. We are supposed to culture our time, culture our atmosphere. We are supposed to create our atmosphere. Like one spiritual teacher taught, every time your phone rings, look at your phone, take a deep breath. Hold your breath for a couple of seconds and tell yourself, I will speak consciously. I will be in inner contact with my divinity. And then you answer the phone. Then you see how your voice is. The voice itself changes. Because you have gone to the inner being instead of the surface being. Very small things, but doable things and necessary things. See, finally we are all here for spiritual growth. And I keep telling my friends, I'm sorry, some of you may or may not like what I say. I tell them, we are nearing 60. This is our last innings. Another 10 years by God's grace, if this body is healthy, we can do something useful in this life. After 10 years, Bhagavan Bharose. So better use this last innings properly. This is what I am applying to myself and my friends. Body is in control, mind is in control, we are able to move around, we are able to sit here, we are able to share. That means God has been very kind to us. Now let us play this last innings very consciously, very carefully. So this is how do we develop calmness of mind. We have to go back and introspect each of us. Let us spend some time. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? And then we can move forward. So I will stop here. We have taken Shad Sampatti. We have done the Sama part. Next week we will take up Dhamma, Uparati, other things, Titiksha, Shraddha, all of these things will come. So I will stop here now and let us for a moment close our eyes. Take a deep breath and let go. Let us for a moment scan our body from the head to the toe, part by part, all the while taking deep breaths but gentle breaths and observing the silence in the body. Feel the stillness of the entire body calmly. Become aware of this entire room and the silence that fills this room. Let us pray to Mother and Sri Aurobindo to guide us on this path of Viveka, Vairagya, Shad Sampatti and Mumukshatva, the four important pillars of sadhana. Let us have the right contemplation, vichara, viveka, discrimination, vairagya, in our path, inner vairagya, and practice calmness of mind in the coming 1 week. Let us pray to the Mother and Sri Aurobindo to bless us. Let us take a deep breath and then chant Om together 3 times, and between the chants observe the silence between the Oms also. Take a deep breath between each chant. Chant peacefully, full of slow, peaceful vibrations. Let us take a deep breath. Sarvam Sri Mata Aurobindo Charana Kamalarpanamastu.